Welcome traders to the very first Q&A podcast of No Nonsense Forex Refined with your hosts today, Dillon, myself, and of course, Judgefpv. Judge, say hello.
Hello.
It's been a long time coming, Judge, this Q&A podcast. I know it's something that you've been thinking about, and it's something that we've been discussing for a little bit of time, and it's been a little bit of works in the making. So I'm super excited to get this Q&A podcast started, and it's going to be a lot of fun, a lot of episodes moving forward that we've discussed. However, saying that, a little something that we're going to be doing, I suppose, at the start of our podcast is how's our trading going for the week. This keeps us accountable, and this gives the viewers, yourselves, a little bit of a feel of what we're doing, how we're going as traders, because of course we are traders. So Judge, how's the trading been going for the week?
It's been pretty good, Dillon.
It's good.
But when I call something pretty good, when analyzing in week bites, it's more talking about how many opportunities have come up during the week, more reflecting on a little bit of spike of volume. So when there's activity, means there's potential opportunities. So it's better than when there's no signals, that's for sure.
No, that's absolutely right. I can say the same. I've had a few signals for this week, which has been really good. The unfortunate thing, however, is the signals probably didn't go my way for majority of them, unfortunately. So a couple of stop outs at the moment, a couple of open trades still that are a little bit in the red. There are a few winners in there as well. A couple winners. One of them has hit my take profit, and it's trailing up. So that one hopefully can continue going on, which is really good. But saying that, overall, it is a bit of a down week P&L wise, but saying that, it is part of playing the game. It is what happens when we are traders, and the most important thing, of course, is risk management. So even though I'm down for the week in terms of profit and loss, I can say that I'm still in the game and still going. So that's most important. So Judge, it's finally happened. The No Nonsense Forex Refined Q&A podcast. This is the, of course, very first episode. So I'd like to welcome everybody that is watching this one and listening in. It's going to be a lot of fun. This podcast, and it's going to be very engaging for yourselves. And we're going to talk about this a little bit later on, what the format of the podcast will be. But first, before we get into too deep into it, Judge, maybe it's probably best if we talk to the viewers a little bit about ourselves and who are we, because of course you, the viewers, you will need to know who your hosts are for this particular podcast. So I'm happy to start this one.
Yeah, I'd like to know who you are as well.
Yeah, and likewise, Judge, because I know you've been in the community for a very, very long time. But yeah, happy to share a little bit about who I am. So for those that don't know, my name, of course, is Dillon Grech. I am a No Nonsense Forex trader and a student of No Nonsense Forex. Where did I find No Nonsense Forex? I found VP probably, I think it'd be almost 3 years ago. So it was still when VP was releasing content. I think I got in a little bit, I guess about halfway, because I remember when he was bringing out the continuation trades and the volume indicator, and it was he was still building up the algorithm, which was really, really cool. So I got in about halfway. And from there, I actually tried to put that into cryptocurrencies. Right. For those that don't know, I started off as a crypto trader, and that's how I got exposed to this whole trading thing. So if you match the timelines together, you would probably see that I started off trading back in, I think it was 2017, 2018, when that crypto bubble was bubbling there. And that's
one of those people.
I am Judge. I'm one of those people. So I didn't have too much luck with it, but I was still committed to learning. So I stopped for a little bit, and then probably a year after I picked it up again. This would have been, I think it was 2019, and then that's when I found No Nonsense Forex, or I actually started researching a bit into Forex, and then that's where I found VP. So I took that on board and I started learning, and I tried to apply that to cryptos. It didn't really work, and then I thought, look, maybe I'll actually try this Forex thing out. So I gave it a go, and what I realized with No Nonsense Forex is, and what I think is so important about it, is VP teaches you so much more than just a strategy. Now, of course, he teaches you particular indicators, the strategy itself, and the combination of indicators that you need, but he also teaches you money management and also trading psychology, which is really, really important. But not only that, it teaches you so much more, which we are going to, of course, go into in subsequent episodes of this podcast. But there's so much value that can be taken out of No Nonsense Forex, where you can really make your strategy your own. So without going into too much detail, I suppose I've been trading No Nonsense Forex for a little bit now. Still learning, still refining my trading strategy to find something that, of course, suits me. But that's the whole idea of this and this podcast as well. And it's to help the viewers as well in their journey too, and clarify a couple of things. But before we go into all of that, Judge, it might be worth hearing a little bit about your story and your experience with No Nonsense Forex and trading as a whole as well.
Well, that's a big question, because I don't think I've really ever sat down and talked about the journey which I've been on, and this is probably a first for everyone hearing. So I actually got into Forex in 2017. My wife's dad trades Forex. He had been, at that point in time, been trading for around 5-6 years. And he is not a no-nonsense Forex person. He is as traditional Forex as you can get, like extract as much money out of the market as possible, because, you know, supply and demand, trend lines, everything you can think of. He's done it all. And, you know, prior to that point, I'd actually had a lot of encounters with Forex over the years at different points in my life. And then a few different people I knew had dabbled in it as well. So it had always been on my bucket list to be like, okay, cool. One day maybe I can retire just doing this. Yeah. And then a best mate of mine from childhood had actually turned into a full digital nomad and trading Forex full time. And I thought, this is starting to take off everywhere. I don't want to miss out. So I actually started dabbling in it, as I said, in 2017. And I just went straight to my wife's dad, who I call my dad anyway. And he basically taught me everything that he does. I shadowed him. I watched him for a while. And then I had another mate, and this is just by chance, another mate that had actually started trading FX as well. And he was the one that actually introduced me to No Nonsense Forex, that gave me the link.
There you go.
And what's really odd was, you know, there's so much information out there about Forex. You know, YouTube's full of it. You go to any community, there's a lot of information out there. But I just took this guy, my mate's advice, and went to this, you know, I think it was the podcast, and just started listening to VP. Now, I don't know why I listened to him, because I was kind of his mentor, because my background is business technology and management. So he kind of looked up to me, and I was training him. And he's like, go check this out. And I thought, yeah, okay, fine. And it ultimately, it ended up changing my life.
There you go. Well done.
That's the story behind me. But I started, No Nonsense Forex then was kind of the end of 2018. So I kind of came in the middle as well, like you. Essentially, VP was still releasing content, a lot of it. And at that point in time, the volume video had just come out. So essentially, the algorithm as we were building it, it was literally the first confirmation indicator, volume, and exit. That was it. So my first algorithm was just that.
Yep.
Literally when I started back testing. And then, I kind of built it at the same time as VP was releasing content. And I think that generation of people that were listening at the same time as building and testing, at the same time that VP was kind of drip feeding us bits and pieces, we're all really, really wide-eyed and bushy-tailed. We're looking, you know, at this new way of trading and this new way of reading the market. And I think a lot more came out of it than we bargained for, because you kind of were a lot more open.
Yep.
Whereas today, you get into No Nonsense Forex, you consume the whole entire thing, and you have no concept of time, and everyone just jumps through all the pieces because they weren't being held back, week by week on doing
That's
stuff.
Right.
So
exactly.
So the first generation of No Nonsense Forex traders, they were quite deep and quite well refined in each piece. And I think that's what we wanted to kind of get into with this podcast, was to kind of bring that back and fill in all those gaps for the people now coming in after that are basically consuming all the content and not knowing, how to apply it, or missing the parts that the first generation of no-nonsense Forex traders were fortunate to get because it was being drip-fed to us.
Absolutely, because I think, and I know, Judge, you raised a very, very important point there. It's no-nonsense Forex is very, I guess, unless you're going into the detail, you can miss a lot. And having that fundamental understanding on each component of no-nonsense Forex and that high-level understanding and relationship with how does this fit in with, your particular trading strategy and why it's in there is very, very important, which if you're binge watching VP's content, you might miss a couple things, and you might miss the underlying fundamental reason why this particular, for example, indicator or this money management is within your particular trading strategy. So very, very good points, but without, of course, going into detail, this is all going to be things that we are going to discuss later on, and I'm super excited. We are both super excited to be sharing all of this with you. Saying that,
absolutely,
what are we doing? What is this Q&A podcast, and why is it there? So, Judge, I know we've been talking about this for a little bit. This was actually an idea that you came up with
probably 3 months.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, 3 months we've been discussing, planning it out, and I suppose it's finally happening. The No Nonsense Forex Refined Q&A podcast, and we're of course super excited to be sharing this, of course, with everybody that is, of course, following No Nonsense Forex. So, Judge, did you want to give like a quick overview of what this podcast is without going into, I guess, too much detail?
Well, the idea of this podcast came about probably about a year ago, and what I want to do is, as I said, a lot of people were starting no nonsense Forex and consuming all the material, and a lot of gaps were starting to pop up because they didn't have that that drip fed mentality that came from VP. And so what I wanted to do was go back over it and tie it all together. And I thought the podcast format is actually a really good way of going back over things.
Yeah.
And when VP's podcast ended, I was kind of sad because I was looking forward to weekly content talking about different Forex topics, and I thought that would be really cool to still have.
Yes.
Not necessarily introduce new material, but to have something for people, especially a lot of the people in the No Nonsense Forex Discord, that were still going through the content for the first time, but they were binging it. I thought it'd be cool to actually have something weekly, in a weekly format, that people could dive a little bit deeper on these points, because they never had the opportunity to do that like we did in that first generation. So the idea of the podcast came from that. I thought, well, there's obviously a very high level to VP's content, and it involves a lot of work, and it involves a lot of soul searching and Google searching. So we thought, why not tie what I've learned into a podcast and try and share with people so that it can somehow benefit them. So that, at the end of the day, many hands make light work. That was the whole entire point of the No Nonsense Forex Discord. But when it comes to podcasts, I've got a lot of experience under my belt, and I've got a lot of experience reading a lot of other people's experiences as well. So if we can somehow help those coming in to benefit, I suppose, from the mistakes of others and myself, as well as, possibly get some better ideas, then I think this sort of podcast would be a win for everyone. And it's a win-win.
Absolutely. Because, we've talked about this, Judge. There's a lot of common questions that do come through in the Discord. This is very much, for the people who follow No Nonsense Forex, but also for the people in the Discord. A lot of common questions come through, and I think as well as that, some people that might not be asking questions, they might be they might like learning a different way, for example. I think this podcast format will be able to suit everybody. It's something that's going to be very interactive as well, which I'll touch on in just a sec. At the end of the day, it's to help you on your journey, whether that's, your no-nonsense Forex journey, whether it's from back testing, forward testing, live trading, or even beyond. I think there is going to be some value that, no matter where you are on your journey, you'll be able to get from this particular podcast. So there's quite a few people in the Discord that follow No Nonsense Forex. There's even more people out there that follow No Nonsense Forex too. It's amazing how much of an outreach that VP has done, and that's just testimony to his particular trading strategy and his way of doing things, which nothing like I've seen, on, I guess, the mainstream, YouTube. He's done very, very well. So we're hoping
if it didn't work, then, the internet is brutal.
Yeah.
So, if some guy was just out there peddling stuff that didn't work, it would get destroyed.
Absolutely.
From every angle. I mean, there's always going to be haters. But when you look at holistically, the whole entire No Nonsense Forex community and what has come from this, ultimately, I know he's achieved his greater goal of, helping people learn to trade and be confident. And ultimately, I think that's what we're all trying to do, and what this is about is being able to all find our way. Because we all have the same goal at the end of the day.
Absolutely. So, there's only one goal as traders, and we're all trying to get that goal. But saying that, it is it is such a big movement. Before getting into it a little bit more, let's talk about the format of this Q&A podcast. So let's talk about the times quickly. So this is going to be a live podcast. So this is going to be the first recorded podcast, just as a introduction of what we're doing, but saying that subsequent and future podcasts will be live, and they will be streamed on the No Nonsense Forex Discord channel, but also via my YouTube channel as well, which is, I guess, where me and Judge connected, because I know, Judge, you've been wanting to do this for quite a while, but wanted, somebody to help with the entry of, getting it out there. So, and that's where I come in as well. So I'm not only, a trader, but also got the YouTube channel as well. So we can connect on there too. So times for that. So it's going to be hopefully 8:30 a.m. Sydney time, Australia, on a Sunday morning. Judge, you're in Perth, so that's 6:30 a.m. Sunday morning. You're, I hope, an early bird.
I am.
Oh, very good.
I'm up at 5:30 usually every morning.
There you go. Oh, you're too good.
Not by choice.
No, you're doing well. So for any US viewers, that's 6:30 p.m. EST time, and that's at a Saturday night. So 6:30 p.m. EST for US viewers. So I'm not too sure what that is around the world, but hopefully, you're able to connect and come join live, saying that everything will be, of course, recorded. So if you can't make it to the Discord or the live streams, they will all be recorded and will be put up in the, in my YouTube channel, but also possibly on other podcast streaming services like Spotify, iTunes, and the like. So we're trying to figure all that out. So I have a little bit of experience with that.
I suppose it depends on how much people like two Aussies talking about trading. I mean, we could be a flop, mate. This might, go nowhere.
Yeah, that's it. Maybe. Who knows? It doesn't matter. It's a little bit of fun, though, isn't it? And if we can help a couple of people, that's the main thing. So I'm excited to see where it actually goes. So, Judge, I know we've been talking about this. It is a Q&A podcast. So Q&A plus podcast. Judge, what does that mean? I know this is something you envisaged quite some time, but Q&A podcast.
You must be a footy player. You're from Victoria, right? Because that was the best handball I've ever seen. So No Nonsense Forex Refined. It took us a little bit of time to actually get the name here, and making sure it's a name that everyone can understand what this actually is about. We're not here to teach people how to suck eggs. We're not here to basically tell you how to trade, and our way is only the right way, and there is only one right way of doing it. The whole entire point behind this podcast, at least for me, was to help people refine their understanding of no-nonsense Forex, because VP is quite broad, and he's done that on purpose, and I admire him for that, because it allows people to use their own mental faculties to explore. And we need to be creative in this game, because trading in itself is a form of expression, creative expression. At the end of the day, it's a vast market where we set our own rules, and they're not dictated to us a lot of the time. So you need to be creative in this game, and so he's kept it really, really broad when he's talking about the concepts that are in no-nonsense Forex. But ultimately, that can lead to perils along the way, because let's face it, everyone's different, everyone learns differently, everyone consumes differently, and that somehow comes out as different things. I think the old adage is, you put 10 doctors in a room to write a paper about curing cancer, and you'll get 10 different strategies that come out of that, because they all think differently and they all learnt differently, but they're all just as qualified as each other. So the idea here is to refine no-nonsense Forex concepts, because many of the concepts have been adopted and borrowed or, learned from other methods that are out there. Because as you know, VP did have mentors himself, and what he's put together and that works for him may not necessarily work for everyone, but it's how do we take that information and adapt it and apply it in a way that's going to be positive. Because it's very easy to adapt things the wrong way in this game and end up getting a lot of pain from it. Essentially, what we're going to be doing is talking more about how do we refine the concepts from no-nonsense Forex. Keep broad, keep creative, but at the same time, make sure that we're doing it the right way to get the most benefit out of it.
Absolutely. 100% agree, Judge. And that's why this podcast, I'm super excited about it. I know you're super excited about doing this podcast as well. And hopefully you, the viewers, are also excited about this and to see what we have to talk about from, I suppose, our knowledge of no-nonsense Forex, but also a little bit from the community as well. So it is a Q&A podcast. So it is very similar somewhat to what VP was providing, and that's, I guess, the idea of this. It's a little bit of a carry on from VP's podcast there. So there are two components of this podcast, which is going to be really, really cool. And that is, of course, the podcast side of things, where we just have a general discussion about no-nonsense Forex and what we're going to be talking about for that particular episode, but also a Q&A section as well. So there will be opportunity for viewers to submit questions, and we can talk to some of those questions for that particular episode. So there will be two parts, and that's how it's going to be structured, I suppose, moving forward. And there's going to be the podcast or general discussion side of things and the Q&A side of things. Is that right, Judge?
Yeah, the idea here was to not just regurgitate what everyone already knows and go back and do the exact same thing as what VP did, but it was more so to go over some of the same content. And let's face it, one of the things that you'll get out of the no-nonsense Forex material is if you actually listen to it multiple times, you'll get something new out of it every time.
Absolutely.
And so ultimately what we're trying to do is bring up those same concepts again and extract all those new gems that come out of it. But obviously we're not just going to sit here and talk to each other, because I mean, Dillon, you're really, really, well esteemed and all.
Oh, no,
but I'm sure, people don't just want to listen to two Aussies talking about crap. But ultimately, we want to involve as many people as well. So I think correct me if I'm wrong, Dillon, we're going to release some of the topics in advance so that people can write in and get their questions clarified, and even possibly have them come on the show live every week as we tackle it and discuss it in more detail.
That's it. Exactly right, Judge. So we will have, I guess, how it's structured is chapters, what we've called them. And chapters will be, I guess, give the audience a bit of a flavor of what's coming up in future videos. So within each chapter, there might be 5 or 6 points that we might want to touch on. And those 5 or 6 points will be 5 or 6 weekly videos. So the idea of the chapters is to give a flavor of, what you might expect. And then we will be able to, or the audience will be able to provide some of the questions that they have for that particular flavor, for that particular, topic that we will have for discussion in, the next 5 or 6 episodes moving forward. And as Judge mentioned, there is an opportunity for people, if they would like to, come onto the podcast and, ask their question and actually get involved in the discussion. I think it's something that's going to be very, very valuable for people if they do want to, of course, jump in and, have a little bit of a chat. And it provides people with the, come in very interactive. That's the word I'm looking for. A very interactive way for the community to get involved with the podcast. So, is there anything more you wanted to add to that one, Judge? Or I think we pretty much covered it, buddy. It's definitely, we want it to be interactive because as we remarked on before, I look at things differently to the way that Dillon looks at things, and we probably combined. With our combined experience, look at things differently to what a lot of the audience may. Yep. So the idea here is to extract as much out of any concept that anyone particularly can, so that everyone can benefit. And I'm sure, I think you mentioned previously when we first started, Dillon, that you're a student of No Nonsense Forex. And I'd like to remark on that, I'm a student of No Nonsense Forex as well, because everyone is always learning. There is always more to learn. And so this whole entire venture is about learning and about discovering and but obviously you've got to have a format and you've got to have a topic. And so that's the format that we're going to be running with. What are we going to be doing next week? Yeah, so next week we're going to be talking about a little bit of an overview of No Nonsense Forex. So, of course, this is going to be a very high level discussion. I suppose a bit of an introduction to No Nonsense Forex. I know a lot of viewers, I'm sure, will be coming from the No Nonsense Forex community, but I think regardless, it's still very valuable to give a bit of an introduction and an overview of course, what this podcast is all about, and then expanding on that in the future. So the chapter moving forward is a No Nonsense Forex overview, and we'd welcome all the viewers to provide their questions if they've got high level questions in regards to No Nonsense Forex. There's probably 1,000,001 questions out there.
It's quite broad, isn't it?
Yeah, it is quite broad.
You know what? I'd love to see people try and define No Nonsense Forex in one sentence.
Yeah, that'd be really good. And I'd welcome that as well in the Q&A section that we're going to be providing in the Discord, and also in the YouTube comments too. If you want to submit questions there, by all means, it'd be really, really good to see what is No Nonsense Forex to you, because everybody sees No Nonsense Forex differently. Judge, you've mentioned this a lot of times. A lot of people see things differently, and there's probably 1,000,001 ways we could define No Nonsense Forex too. So
and there's also the people which have taken parts of No Nonsense Forex, so they're almost like partial No Nonsense Forex traders.
Yes,
and there's nothing wrong with that. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. The end of the day, I think if I could recant on a story, one of my mentors from a very long time ago once told me. I was doing, funny enough, door-to-door sales. I was knocking on doors, selling phones. And, I was already an accomplished salesperson in my own right. And one of the things that the guy that was teaching me said to me was, I want you to be like me. I want you to copy everything word for word, just as I do it. And and this is what he said to me, true story. He said, before you say anything, I'm not trying to make you submit to me or anything like that. I know you're an accomplished salesperson. I know you know how to sell. I know you know how to talk to people. I know you know how to close. But the reason I'm telling you to do this is because it's the quickest way to learn everything you need to know. And so this has really, really stuck with me as a theme, and I do this with everything that I learn, and I did this with No Nonsense Forex as well. And basically, what he said was, copy me, be like me, do everything, mirror me exactly the same as what I do, and then once you become successful being like me, you will know what you need to know so that you can expand and do your own thing and be better than me then. And when I did No Nonsense Forex, I took that exact same advice and I just copied everything exactly as the content was. And I kind of consumed the content similar to, that student back then, when I was a student back then. And I basically consumed it with the pretense of how do I take this information, be exactly like my teacher, with the intention to become better than my teacher. And that's how I approached it. And that's the reason why in the No Nonsense Forex Discord, we talk about not deviating, just staying the course, doing everything exactly the same, because there is so much which is happening psychologically in the background that you are learning that you don't even realize you're learning if you just stick to that path. And then once you get to the stage where you've mastered it and you understand it and you understand all the concepts, then that's the time that you can be unleashed on the world and become better.
Absolutely. 100% agree with that, because you can't pick and choose what you want to learn when it comes to, anything really. You need to consume all the content, really understand what it is you're trying to do, because if you're trying to take shortcuts, it is to, not to your benefit in my opinion. If you're trying to take shortcuts with anything, I think it might be detrimental. So it's very, very important that, you do follow structure in whatever it is. And then once you've learnt it and really absorbed all the information that there is, as Judge mentioned, have mastered this, and then that's where you can really pivot, really make something your own, and you'll have your own No Nonsense Forex trading strategy. That is much better than possibly VPs, my own judges. You'll have your own trading strategy that works for you, and that's what's really, really important. So as mentioned, the Q&A questions are related to an overarching or overview of No Nonsense Forex. They are welcome. Of course, define what No Nonsense Forex is to you in one sentence. I reckon they'll be really
If you do it in one sentence, I challenge everyone. See if you can define No Nonsense Forex in one sentence. I like to think of it as if, your grandmother asked you the question, what's No Nonsense Forex? Try and explain that to her in one sentence without losing her attention. And if you can do that, then I think you understand it pretty well.
Absolutely. I think it'll be really, really cool to see what people think No Nonsense Forex is, or what it means to you, because it will, I think, highlight the point that everybody consumes content or views content a lot differently to the next. So it is very broad, or we are going to get, I believe, a broad sample of comments or questions in. I think it's going to be really, really cool to see. The next video,
the last thing with that as well, is keep it above the line, people. Don't get in there and don't be that person that's like a hater. You got better things to do.
Yeah, that's it. We're putting ourselves out there. This is, of course, No Nonsense Forex related and refined as well. For example, if No Nonsense Forex didn't work for you for whatever reason, of course, there's 1,001 ways that you can trade. Then, I wish you all the best as well.
Of course.
That's it.
I think a lot of people got the impression, because we were so strict in the No Nonsense Forex Discord, especially over the last couple of years, that we are only focused on No Nonsense Forex and not interested in learning any other methods. And that couldn't be further from the truth. But, a lot of the time, no one has time to dignify and argue and debate. And we all have the same goal. And so I think we were going to talk about this as well, Dillon, but we were going to talk about what this podcast is not.
Yeah. I think we did mention it a couple of times in there, but it is... firstly being, it's not financial advice. But it is also, No Nonsense Forex isn't the only way to trade. There's so many ways
Correct.
that you can trade, so many different trading strategies that you can do. This is by no means a way to disregard other trading strategies, because there are a lot of trading strategies that do work out there outside of No Nonsense Forex. Judge, you were talking about your wife's father. That is far from, trades far from No Nonsense Forex, yet he is successful. So it is just a different way, a different take of trading No Nonsense Forex. That,
and don't get me wrong, he doesn't like No Nonsense Forex.
Yeah.
he finds it's too simple, and he doesn't like simple. He likes feeling good because it's sophisticated and complicated, and then he gets a kick out of it, kind of thing.
That's
and that's fine. That's fine.
Exactly.
If that's how you want to trade. But to be honest, I live a busy life. I find No Nonsense Forex trading, 15 minutes a day is perfect.
Absolutely.
It's absolutely perfect.
100%. And I think, being a, No Nonsense Forex, however, refined podcast, the content is going to be No Nonsense Forex related there and refined. So it is a take on No Nonsense Forex regardless. But saying that, if you're, happy trading whatever strategy that you have, even a No Nonsense Forex refined strategy, well done. And I'm glad you found something that, works for you, and I wish you all the best in the future. So, in the next podcast episode, we are actually going to, of course, be talking about, No Nonsense Forex overview, but the first part of that being confirmation indicators and talking a little bit about trend following. So if you got any questions specific to that, if it's questions about confirmation indicators that you might have, maybe something that you've missed, why we're using trend following, a combination of indicators, so your C1s and your C2s, anything in regards to that, by all means, that's going to be the second episode, but the first one going into detail of this Q&A podcast. If you got any questions in relation to confirmation indicators, then by all means, would love to see them coming in. It'd be really cool to see some of those questions come in, and we can talk about that in the next episode. So just a reminder, please write in, everybody. It'll be really good to see all of you, and it'd be really cool to see how many people are actually listening to this, how many people want to get involved and be a part of this Q&A podcast. I think it's something that's going to be really cool. Of course,
we're molding this as we go. So
yes,
your feedback is going to be really, really important.
Absolutely.
No one wants to, create content that no one wants to listen to at the end of the day. I'm sure we got better things to do at 6:30 in the morning.
Yeah, that's it. Absolutely. We of course, we will be listening to viewer feedback, and that's why I think it's really important that this is we're building that connection with the community there. It is very community driven, this podcast, and that's why it is not only on YouTube but within the No Nonsense Forex Discord that we'll be streaming this on. So if you got any feedback, any comments, any questions, of course, please write in. We'll have a section in the in the No Nonsense Forex Discord channels for you to not only listen in but to write all your questions in and provide feedback and the like there. So we'll be setting all that one up very soon when this podcast does drop. We'll be setting that one up, and then in the next podcast, Q&A podcast, of course, we'll be going live, and that's where we're going to be having a little bit more fun. And Judge, I know we've struggled with this, but there's no stopping and no cutting sections out where we stuff up once we go live. So this was a bit of a teaser of for us.
It was definitely an eye opener for me.
Yeah, and me too. I'm still, although I do the YouTube thing, I'm still learning as well. But saying that, we're going to be going live, and it's going to be a lot of fun, I think, as well, because that's where we build the community interaction as well. It's very important that we do that. So I'm super excited to see where this goes and see what happens. Judge, is there anything that we need to we might have missed, or anything we want to just wrap up with as well?
No, I think we've pretty much covered everything for now.
Awesome.
And because obviously we're going to go a lot deeper into all these concepts one by one.
That's right. That's
the whole purpose of the podcast. So no need to go any deeper here. I guess I have one burning question for you, Dillon. That is, because I'm new to this whole podcast thing. Do you actually listen to your own podcast?
I
do you like play it back to yourself?
I do.
Because what do I do at this step?
No, I do listen to the podcast, and it is something that we will be listening to, of course, when we do finish the podcast. I think it's something that I'm going to be going back on and reflecting on, not only the content that we do talk about, and not only the people and the questions and the comments that do come in. We're going to have full viewership of all of that, and because that's very important. But it is, something that is going to be very valuable, I think, that we do, of course, watch over these podcasts and do listen in and do listen to the audience. It is absolutely. It is something that I'll be doing, and I'm sure, Judge, you'll be doing as well. And it'll be really cool to see, I suppose, our performance as hosts of this. I'm very although I do talk on YouTube, I'm still very nervous about all of this stuff. So, yeah, saying that, we're also learning. We're also learning with the podcast thing. So, if we do stuff up or anything like that, bear with us. But of course,
too bad.
Yeah. But of course, it'll be a lot of fun, I think. So, yeah, wrapping this up, super grateful that you, the viewer, the audience, you've stuck it this far. Hopefully, it's something that you're interested in watching in the future. And of course, I'm very excited, and I'm sure Judge as well, you're very excited to get the very first episode of No Nonsense Forex Refined out there to the audience. It's super fun, super excited to be doing this.
Let's do it.
Yeah, super excited to be going into the details. So, Judge, thank you for your time. I do appreciate it, of course. And we'll see all of you in the very first, or the second of
the second one.
Yeah, the second one. That's the one. Talking about this No Nonsense Forex confirmation indicators and an overview. So super excited. Thank you all for tuning in. Thank you, Judge, again for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
And we'll be seeing you all. Yeah, looking forward to it. We'll be seeing you all in the next episode. So take care.
Ciao.